Throughout history, the greatest minds have always been surrounded by an aura of mystery. They see patterns where others see randomness. They understand principles that seem invisible to ordinary people, and they operate on frequencies that the rest of humanity hasn't yet tuned into. Nikola Tesla was no exception. In fact, he was perhaps the most enigmatic genius the world has ever known. While we celebrate him as the man who harnessed electricity and revolutionized our world with wireless transmission, alternating current, and countless other innovations, there exists a hidden side of Tesla that remains largely unexplored and deeply misunderstood. This is the story of Tesla's mysterious obsession with three seemingly ordinary numbers: 3, 6, and 9. But these were not ordinary numbers to Tesla. He believed they held the key to understanding the very fabric of the universe itself. The story begins not in a laboratory or at a blackboard, but in the intimate details of Tesla's daily life. Observers who knew him documented something extraordinary about his behavior. Tesla wasn't just casually interested in these numbers. His fixation was so profound, so all-encompassing, that it dictated nearly every aspect of his existence. When he would visit a building, Tesla would walk around the block exactly 3 times before entering. Never 2 times, never 4 times, always 3. This wasn't a habit he engaged in occasionally. This was a ritual that he performed with unwavering consistency. His colleagues and friends would watch in bewilderment as Tesla circled buildings with mathematical precision, as if he was performing some kind of sacred ceremony that only he understood. But the obsession didn't stop at walking patterns. When Tesla ate his meals, everything had to align with these mystical numbers. He would meticulously use exactly 18 napkins when washing his dishes. 18, for those who are interested in the arithmetic, is divisible by 9, 6, and 3. This wasn't random. This was deliberate. This was part of a larger system that governed Tesla's entire worldview. When he traveled and needed accommodation, Tesla would insist on hotel rooms whose numbers were divisible by 3. This created numerous problems for hotel managers and staff, who would have to relocate him multiple times if they initially assigned him to a room that didn't fit his numerical requirements. Most people would have dismissed this as mere eccentricity, the harmless quirk of a brilliant but strange man. But Tesla treated it with the gravity of scientific law. In 1943, as Tesla approached the end of his life, moving between cheap hotels in New York, he finally died in room number 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. Even in his final earthly moment, the numbers remained. Room 3327. 3,327. The digit 3 appears multiple times in that number. Some believe this was not coincidence, but rather the final confirmation of Tesla's lifelong belief in the power of these numbers. It was as if the universe itself was acknowledging what Tesla had spent his entire life trying to communicate to the world. The question that naturally arises is why? What could possibly make a man of Tesla's intellect and achievement so obsessed with 3 numbers out of the infinite possibilities of mathematics? To understand this, we must examine what Tesla himself said about these numbers. The most famous quote attributed to Tesla is one that has echoed through decades and now resonates across internet forums and social media platforms with remarkable power. Tesla allegedly declared, "If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe." This quote has become legendary in certain circles, spawning theories, manifestation techniques, and countless hours of speculation. However, and this is important, historians have not found a definitive written source for this exact quote. It does not appear in Tesla's published books. It does not appear in his patents. It does not appear in verified lecture transcripts. This hasn't stopped it from becoming one of the most cited quotes in popular culture, but the ambiguity of its origin is significant. What we do know with certainty is that Tesla was absolutely fascinated by these numbers, and this fascination had deep roots in his mathematical and scientific thinking. In his autobiographical writings, particularly in his series titled My Inventions, published in 1919 in the Electrical Experimenter magazine, Tesla wrote about the significance of the number 3. He stated explicitly that the number 3 had always been his favorite. He noted that the number 3 dominates nature in countless ways: 3 dimensions of space, 3 states of matter, 3 primary colors. These weren't arbitrary observations. Tesla was identifying what he saw as fundamental, architectural principles of reality itself. Furthermore, Tesla observed that something extraordinary happened when he multiplied any number by 3, 6, or 9. He noticed unusual patterns in what mathematicians call the digital root, the single digit obtained through iterative summation of digits. Let us explore what Tesla might have been observing. When you take any number and multiply it by 9, something mathematically remarkable occurs. The digital root always returns to 9. For example, 9 multiplied by 2 is 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. 9 multiplied by 7 is 63. 6 plus 3 equals 9. This property is unique to the number 9. No other number in our decimal system possesses this characteristic. It is as if 9 exists in a different dimension, separate from the normal flow of numbers, yet governing them with invisible precision. Tesla recognized this. He was struck by what seemed like a violation of normal mathematical rules. Yet it was following rules so fundamental that most mathematicians had simply overlooked them. Tesla frequently used multiples of 9 volts when conducting his experiments. This was not arbitrary selection of numbers. He believed that 9 represented resonance, harmony, the frequency at which the universe operated at its most fundamental level. When he combined the numbers 3 and 6 in his experiments, he believed he was representing the meeting point of matter and spirit, the material world and the non-material realm of energy and consciousness. Everything in Tesla's scientific work seemed to reference back to these 3 numbers, as if he was constantly tuning into a frequency that he understood but could not yet fully articulate to the world. Then in the modern era, particularly in the early years of the 21st century, a mathematician and researcher named Marco Rodin would begin to develop what he called vortex-based mathematics, and suddenly Tesla's obsession began to make sense in a new way. Rodin discovered something remarkable through his exploration of numerical patterns. When you take the doubling sequence and reduce each number to its digital root, you get a pattern that repeats endlessly. 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. This is a loop, this is a circuit, but something extraordinary happens. No matter how many times you double, no matter how far you take the sequence, the numbers 3, 6, and 9 never appear in this doubling circuit. They are completely absent. It is as if these 3 numbers exist outside the normal rules of numerical progression. Rodin became convinced that 3, 6, and 9 represent something fundamentally different from all other numbers. He theorized that they form what he called a flux field, a vector extending from the 3rd dimension into the 4th dimension. These 3 numbers, he believed, are the gateway between dimensions, the bridge between the material and immaterial worlds. They are not bound by the same rules as the other numbers. They operate on a different plane of existence. This theory, which might sound mystical, is actually based on careful mathematical analysis and pattern recognition. Rodin's work suggested that the universe might be constructed along mathematical principles that Tesla intuitively grasped, but lacked the modern tools to fully explain. Rodin developed what he calls the mathematical fingerprint of God, a diagram that depicts the doubling and halving circuits of numbers and the oscillation between 3 and 6, with 9 as the axis. When you map these patterns onto a torus shape, a shape that appears throughout nature from atoms to galaxies, you see something extraordinary. The patterns form sacred geometric arrangements. The numbers occur in perfect symmetry around a central point. It is bilaterally balanced in a way that seems to reflect the fundamental balance of the universe itself. What Tesla sensed, what he attempted to communicate through his obsessive behaviors and cryptic statements, was that the universe is fundamentally encoded in mathematics. The numbers 3, 6, and 9 are the key to this code. Tesla believed that electrical energy itself was connected to these numbers. His work on alternating current, which revolutionized human civilization, operates on the principles of frequency and phase, concepts deeply related to the mathematics of 3, 6, and 9. Some researchers have theorized that Tesla intentionally incorporated these numbers into his most important technological developments. The precision of his work, the reliability of his alternating current system, the efficiency of his designs might all owe something to his deep understanding of these special numbers. Whether Tesla fully grasped the mechanisms of this connection or was operating on pure intuition remains an open question. But what is clear is that he was accessing something real, something that modern mathematics and physics are only beginning to understand. The implications of this are staggering. If Tesla was correct, if 3, 6, and 9 truly are the key to understanding the universe, then the implications extend far beyond electrical engineering. They extend into the nature of consciousness, the structure of matter, the organization of energy, the very fundamental laws that govern existence. Some have speculated that Tesla was on the verge of unlocking the secrets of free energy, unlimited power generation that would require no fuel and produce no pollution. Some believe he actually succeeded, but that his findings were suppressed or lost to history. Others suggest that he understood principles of reality that would transform human civilization if they were fully developed and properly applied. Tesla's personal papers and experiments were a closely guarded secret during his lifetime and became the subject of controversy and speculation after his death. The FBI confiscated many of his documents. Some were lost, some were preserved in various archives around the world. What we can say with certainty is that Tesla left behind a legacy that extends far beyond his documented inventions. He left behind a mystery, a puzzle, a challenge to future generations to understand what he was really trying to tell us about the hidden structure of reality. In the modern era, particularly in the last 2 decades, Tesla's obsession with these numbers has experienced a remarkable resurgence. This resurgence has taken an unexpected form, emerging from an unlikely source. Social media platforms like TikTok. Young people, often with no formal scientific training, have become fascinated by what they call the 369 manifestation method. Based on Tesla's alleged statements about the magnificence of these numbers, this method involves writing down a specific desire or affirmation 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times in the evening for a period of at least 21 days. The theory is that through this repetition, through this alignment with the special frequencies represented by these numbers, a person can manifest their desires into reality. While many dismiss this practice as pseudoscience or New Age mysticism, it is worth considering what might actually be happening when someone engages in this kind of focused, repetitive intention setting. The human mind is extraordinarily powerful. Neuroscience has shown us that mental visualization and focused intention actually activate neural pathways in the brain, creating changes in perception and cognition that can translate into behavioral changes and ultimately into different outcomes in life. Is it possible that Tesla understood something about how focused intention and numerical frequency combine to influence reality? Is it possible that the numbers 3, 6, and 9 have the power to enhance this process? These are not questions that mainstream science has thoroughly investigated, but they are not inherently irrational questions. Some researchers and writers have suggested that Tesla's obsessive behaviors might have been symptoms of obsessive-compulsive disorder, a neurological condition that can manifest as repetitive behaviors and intrusive thoughts about numbers, sequences, and patterns. If this is true, it raises a fascinating question. What if genius and obsessive-compulsive tendencies are somehow connected? What if the same neural wiring that creates compulsive behaviors is also responsible for the ability to see patterns that others miss, to make intuitive leaps that defy conventional logic? Tesla's obsession with these numbers was certainly compulsive in nature, but what if that compulsion was a window into genuine truths about the structure of reality? What if his obsessive focus on these 3 numbers was not a mental disorder, but rather a form of genius manifesting itself in the only way it could? Throughout human history, the number 3 has held special significance in countless cultures and belief systems. In Christianity, there is the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. In many ancient religions, the world is divided into 3 realms: the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. The triquetra, the 3-pointed symbol, appears in Celtic mysticism. The trident is the weapon of Poseidon, god of the sea. Triangles, the fundamental 3-sided shape, appear in sacred geometry across cultures. It is almost as if humanity intuitively understands that the number 3 represents something fundamental about existence itself. Tesla was tapping into an understanding that reaches back through the collective consciousness of humanity across millennia. The significance of 6 is perhaps less obvious, but equally profound. 6 is the first perfect number in mathematics, meaning that its divisors add up to itself. The 6-pointed Star of David is one of the most important symbols in Judaism and mysticism. Snowflakes form with 6-fold symmetry. Honeycomb, which demonstrates remarkable mathematical efficiency, is based on hexagonal, 6-sided structures. The number 6 appears throughout sacred geometry and ancient architecture. It represents balance, order, and the harmony of opposing forces. In Chinese philosophy, 6 is considered an auspicious number representing smoothness and flow. And then there is 9, which Tesla himself seemed most fascinated by. 9 is the highest single-digit number, representing completion, fulfillment, and the end of a cycle before it begins again with 1. In numerology, 9 is associated with universal love, spiritual enlightenment, and the completion of one phase leading to the beginning of another. Many cultures consider 9 sacred or holy. In Norse mythology, there are 9 realms. In Buddhism, 9 is significant as a symbol of spiritual wisdom. The number 9 appears in mystical traditions across the globe. What Tesla might have understood is that 9 serves as a kind of stabilizing force, a bridge between the finite and the infinite, the material and the spiritual. Tesla's observations about frequency and vibration are particularly relevant here. He famously stated that if you wanted to understand the secrets of the universe, you had to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything in the universe vibrates. Everything oscillates at certain frequencies. The atoms that compose matter are not solid. They are energy vibrating at particular frequencies, held in place by mathematical principles that create the appearance of solidity. Matter itself is condensed energy, organized according to mathematical ratios and proportions. What Tesla understood was that these fundamental frequencies might be encoded in the numbers 3, 6, and 9. Modern physics has begun to validate some of Tesla's intuitions. String theory suggests that the fundamental nature of reality consists of vibrating strings of energy in extra dimensions. Quantum mechanics has revealed that reality at the smallest scales behaves in ways that seem almost mystical, with particles existing in superposition, with observation affecting reality, with connections between particles that seem to transcend space. While string theory and quantum mechanics do not explicitly mention the numbers 3, 6, and 9, they do validate Tesla's fundamental insight that the universe is based on vibration, frequency, and mathematical principles that govern what appears to be reality. Some researchers have gone further and have attempted to connect Tesla's insights to what is called zero-point energy, or zero-point physics. According to this theoretical framework, empty space is not actually empty, but is filled with quantum fluctuations and virtual particles popping in and out of existence. This quantum foam, as it is sometimes called, contains enormous amounts of energy that might theoretically be tapped into. Tesla may have been intuitively exploring this concept when he conducted his experiments with electrical frequencies and resonance. His famous Wardenclyffe Tower project, which he designed to transmit wireless power across great distances, may have been an attempt to access or manipulate zero-point energy. The project was never completed due to lack of funding, and much of the technology and theory behind it remains speculative. There's another fascinating dimension to Tesla's 3, 6, 9 obsession that often gets overlooked. Tesla was a man of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, but his thinking in many ways anticipated concepts that would only be fully articulated in quantum physics and information theory. He seemed to understand, decades before these fields were formalized, that information could be encoded in numbers and mathematical patterns. He seemed to understand that the universe operated according to principles of resonance and harmonic relationships. He seemed to understand that there might be a fundamental code underlying reality, a kind of cosmic programming language written in mathematics. The concept of sacred geometry, which has roots in ancient philosophical and spiritual traditions, has recently gained renewed interest among mathematicians and scientists. Sacred geometry proposes that certain proportions and geometric relationships appear throughout nature and the universe because they represent fundamental principles of creation. The golden ratio, also known as phi, appears in the spiraling shells of nautiluses, in the arrangement of petals and flowers, in the proportions of the human body, in galaxies, in DNA structures. This suggests that there might indeed be mathematical principles that govern the organization of matter across all scales. Tesla's 3, 6, and 9 might be markers of these deeper organizational principles. When we consider Tesla's daily rituals and compulsive behaviors in this light, they take on new meaning. By walking around a building 3 times, Tesla might have been aligning himself with what he understood to be fundamental organizing principles of reality. By using 18 napkins, which is 2 times 9, he might have been engaging in a sympathetic magic or intention-setting practice designed to keep himself in harmony with the frequencies he believed governed the universe. These behaviors, which appear strange or obsessive to outsiders, might have been Tesla's way of maintaining conscious alignment with what he perceived as the underlying structure of reality. The most interesting aspect of Tesla's legacy in the modern world is how it has been interpreted and applied by contemporary researchers and experimenters. Marco Rodin's work with vortex mathematics has attracted attention from physicists, engineers, and alternative researchers. Some have attempted to build what is called the Rodin coil, an electromagnetic device supposedly based on the numerical patterns that Rodin identified. These devices are said to have unusual properties that might eventually lead to new forms of energy generation or transmission. Whether these devices actually work, whether they actually tap into the zero-point energy that Tesla may have been seeking, remains a matter of intense debate and speculation. What is clear is that the mystery surrounding Tesla's 3, 6, 9 obsession has not diminished with time. If anything, it has grown stronger. New generations of researchers, mathematicians, physicists, and spiritual seekers continue to investigate these numbers, looking for the key that Tesla believed they represent. Some approach it from a scientific angle, looking for mathematical principles that might explain why these numbers occupy such a special position in our numerical system. Others approach it from a spiritual angle, believing that Tesla was accessing hidden wisdom about the nature of reality and consciousness. And many approach it from both angles simultaneously, refusing to see a contradiction between science and spirituality, understanding that at the deepest levels, the two must converge. The story of Tesla's obsession with 3, 6, and 9 is ultimately a story about the limits of conventional thinking and the possibility of deeper truths waiting to be discovered. It is a story about a man whose mind operated on frequencies different from his contemporaries, who saw patterns where others saw randomness, who believed in principles that seemed magical, but which might actually represent genuine laws of the universe. Whether Tesla fully understood what he was perceiving remains uncertain. Whether his obsession was a manifestation of genius or mental illness, or perhaps both simultaneously, is a question we may never definitively answer. What we can say with absolute certainty is that Tesla left behind a mystery that continues to captivate and inspire research. The numbers 3, 6, and 9 have taken on a life of their own in contemporary culture, spawning new interpretations and applications. Young people on social media are using the 3 and 69 method to manifest their desires. Researchers are exploring vortex mathematics and the rodent coil. Physicists are investigating whether these numbers might encode fundamental principles of quantum reality. Whether these efforts will eventually vindicate Tesla's intuitions remains to be seen, but the search continues. In conclusion, Nikola Tesla's obsession with the numbers 3, 6, and 9 stands as one of the great unsolved mysteries in the history of science and human thought. It represents a frontier between the known and the unknown, between what we can measure and quantify and what remains hidden beneath the surface of reality. Tesla spent his entire life trying to unlock the secrets represented by these 3 numbers. He embedded them in his daily routines. He referenced them in his scientific work. He died in a room whose number bore their imprint. He was trying to tell us something. Whether we will ever fully understand what he was trying to communicate remains one of the great open questions of our time. But one thing is certain. The search itself, the attempt to understand the deeper structure of reality that Tesla sensed but could not fully articulate, is a search worth continuing. For in pursuing the mystery of 3, 6, and 9, we are pursuing nothing less than the secrets of existence itself.